All right, we are officially recording. Welcome to our August 1st meeting for Team Canada. I know there are some people that have already started to fly over, and I know Rick and I leave tomorrow, and I know that there's a lot of traveling going between here and there in the next coming days, and that there's a lot of anxiety around the travel. I'll just tell you, I came through Pearson last night, airport in Toronto. I had no wait at anything. Longest wait was the oversized baggage because there were 2 dogs ahead of me. But I walked right into security, no problem with bags, no problem with anything. So be aware that some of the airport stuff is real. Some of it is, some of it's just PR, and it's a PR problem. And thanks, Nora, that there was no wait at YVR today. So arrive early, be prepared, make sure that you have stuff in your carry-on you would need the next day or two, your toothbrush, your underwear, that kind of stuff. Your uniform is always a good thing to carry in your carry-on as well, just so that it guarantees if the worst case happened, then you have what you need for race day. One of the questions and concerns that have come up that I want to address right away is the issue of lost baggage in terms of paddles. So I know there's some people that might be shipping their paddles over just to avoid the airline baggage stuff. Know that in the past, and I'm sure in the future, there's always been luggage issues. Plus paddles break during the event. Know that our international community is amazing in terms of sharing. So whether you just need a paddle of a different size because your coach put you in a different seat than you're used to because you couldn't get the boat to turn, know that for our paddles, people are willing to share. Even those people that maybe your direct competitors, but the most part, people are willing to share. We're going to have lots of options there as well. If you need a paddle, if something happens to yours and you need help or assistance trying to find a replacement, either to purchase or to borrow, by all means, connect with Rick or I, and we can, well, he'll point you back to me, but we'll point you in the right direction to help you out. Sometimes other people are leery of loaning their paddles, so sometimes just having someone like myself or someone else that has kind of a reputation around the community asking for you can help. So don't be afraid to ask. If you need something like a paddle, that kind of thing, we will get you covered. The other thing that I wanted to touch on right away was PFDs. We do not need to carry PFDs with us. We do not need to take them with us. We do not need to have them on the boat unless you cannot swim. If you cannot swim, please take a PFD and wear it. One, for your own health and safety, but also because we will have people that are working, the IVF will have people that are working at the site and in the rescue boat. So if there is a huli or if you do end up in the water, we don't want to put anyone else at danger as well. So if you can't swim, please take your PFD. All right. I have such a scattered agenda, so I apologize if things jump a little bit, but I will get to the questions. A lot of you emailed in questions. Thank you so much. It was so helpful to prepare for. One of the things that is top on our list of getting things done, oh, that's not the link I wanted to post, is that athlete accreditation page. So if you have not done your athlete declaration yet, the link is going into the Zoom chat right now. If you have not done your waiver, please get on it. They are going to be updating my version of the spreadsheet. So they send me the names of everyone that has filled it out. So thank you to the 124 people that did it as of July 28th. Thank you to the people that sent me confirmations that they did it since then. I've checked you off my list, and I just got an email from the IVF president because I bugged her about it, that we will, she's going to update the list for us today. Alrighty. So you can click on that link if you haven't done your waiver. All athletes, all ages need to do it. So if you're a junior or you're responsible for a junior, make sure you get that done. The other thing that has come up is Jonathan Wilkins, our trustee treasurer. Thank you so much for the assistance and guidance. we have the link for the final fee. He says that they've been coming in quite quickly, which is fantastic. If you have not yet paid that $15, 15, that link is coming into the chat right now as well.
Leanne, could
Yes,
I just
John.
dive in a moment, please? I actually have to go out quite soon, but about half of the people have joined this call, and about half of the people have paid their fee, their $15 fee. Please, the rest of you, get onto it. It takes so much volunteer time to chase these things down, and we will hound you to the end of the earth. But please, just get on it quickly. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. So once again, if you haven't got that done, while you're listening to us chat today, by all means, click that link in the chat and take care of it. For those of you that are watching the recording, it will be sent in our next update as well, and it was sent in our previous update that I sent yesterday. Which brings me to the next point. Your email box, check it. If you're having trouble getting emails from us, if we're ending up in your spam, please add us to your safe sender folder, the IVF Sprints at CanadianOutrigger.ca account, because you're going to be getting emails almost daily from here on out. Especially once we get over there. So talking of August 7th to 17th, you will be getting a daily email. But at the end of every day, Rick has already got the draft started with all your email addresses inputted. So all we have to do is write the message to you. So you'll get an update email at the end of the day, which will include things like lane draw for the next day. So if you're not sure, like if you made a repechage, you've made it into a semi, you made it into a final, so that you know what lane you're in, when your race is, those kind of things, who you're against. Those kind of things will be included in that lane draw. We will be sending nightly updates starting on August the 7th. One of those early updates is going to let you know where exactly we're going to meet on the 8th. Because I haven't been to the site, we don't know if the tents are going to be up yet. Rick and I are hoping to find that out on the 7th as we go do some what's that called when you go and look ahead of time? Reconnoitering, I hear from downstairs. Reconnaissance, yep, thank you. So we'll be taking a look at that kind of thing, so that we'll give you an update of exactly where on the 8th we're going to meet. If you have people that are not going to be able to be there on the 8th, that's okay. We'll hold on to your hats, we'll hold on to your ID cards, and we'll send out an update email on the night of the 8th and let you know where we're going to meet on the 9th. Everybody is going to be practicing on the 8th, except for the 4 teams that aren't going to be there yet. And everybody's going to be practicing on the 9th. During those times that I previously sent, we'll get to the practice schedule in a little bit. So, okay, so if you have not done so yet, you need to get into the event on the 9th or on the 8th. You need to, oops, that's not, I'm trying to see. Are you guys seeing the tickets screen right now? All right, cool. Thanks to the couple people that gave me nods. I have so many screens going. Alrighty, so this is from the event webpage where I click on, I'll just go back to the webpage to show you. I clicked on tickets, and this is the webpage that opens. So what you need to do is get entry tickets, course familiarization, and opening ceremonies. This will get you onto the event website, onto the event site for Worlds at Dorney Lake until you get your ID card. If you need parking, that is also available on this page. Unfortunately, as of July 31st, the amounts were supposed to go up. I haven't looked at them today. But get that in there and that will make sure that you can get onto the website. So thank you to people that are sending in questions on the chat. I will address those. And what I'm doing is I'm actually got a questions doc going here of all the questions that people have sent in. I'm just adding them and we're going to get to them. So don't fret, we'll get to them. All right. So if you haven't yet got your entry tickets for August 8th, or whatever your first day on site is going to be, whether it's August 8th or August 9th for some crews, and you don't have your ID tag, go to that website. I will copy the link right into the chat so that you have it handy. Rick has put in the chat that all tickets must be obtained prior to arrival, so you need to get these now. And a screenshot works of having them, a printout works. If you're not going to have data on your phone, it's best to have that, a screenshot of it, just so it shows them when you're coming in that you have your parking and that you have your event entry tickets. If you are texting me right now on my phone and you're in this meeting, I won't look at it. So you're better off to put it in the chat, just so you know. And Scott, you're giggling, so I don't know if one's from you or not, but my phone's blowing up right now. All right. Okay, so that's getting on site. So August 8th, we're going to meet about an hour before. We will be handing out your hats. We have them, they're in a box downstairs, thanks to Mel Durbin that picked them up for us, and I picked them up from her today. Some folks got them on the weekend just because they were in contact with Mel. So Rick and I will be bringing those over. You will get those doled out there. If you're not there on the 8th and you're there on the 9th, you'll get it done. Easy peasy. Alrighty. Also during that meeting, we're going to talk a little bit about, how to make best use of your practices or your course familiarization time. We're also going to try and figure out anything else that needs to happen. It's always better to be at the event site earlier than just before your time, because there's sometimes, and this has happened, I don't expect it to happen, but sometimes it does, is that boats are available a little early. And I know we're not supposed to ask, and Linda's probably going to tisk me right now, to get in boats that are not at your practice time. But there's supposed to be a 5-minute changeover between our whoever's using the boats before us and us. So sometimes you might get an extra 2 minutes. Never hurt. Anyways, moving on to what else? Okay. Next big ticket item. Jonathan, do you still have a question, or is your hand just still up from saying that we're going to hunt down people that haven't paid? All right, cool. Thank you. Just checking. Alrighty, uniforms. So those of you that have seen the uniforms, they are absolutely stunning. On the third time around, things seem to be correct. I don't know the status of the iron-on patches. As far as I know, Dallas was picking them up on Friday. We will have more information about how to iron those on. I've never done an iron-on. Maybe some of the folks that took home ec in high school knows how to do an iron-on. I don't know if Oddball provided instructions, and I see some of you laughing at me. Thank you. I did science and math in high school. So if anyone has any tips on if there's any tricks to those iron-on patches, by all means, throw that in the chat. That would be greatly helpful. I know that our Airbnb that Rick and I are at, we have an iron. So one of the things that we will do on our reconnaissance mission of the event site is see if we can find an outlet. We could possibly plug that iron into so that we could have one there in the days leading up for those that need to get those ironed on. Help take care of it if you don't have one wherever you're staying. So for people that were worried about that, we'll figure it out. Just like everything in paddling, we go with the flow. So talked to another paddler this morning, is like, when in doubt, my backup plan, I got a roll of red duct tape and I got a Sharpie, and I'm just gonna put a little piece of red duct tape over the incorrect flag and just put sorry. So we'll roll with it. Alrighty. Alrighty. I don't know if Doherty is on the call at the moment, but a question that I have had, and if he's not, then I will find out the answer, is that if you find out that, you know what, you've been knocked out, you're expecting to make the semifinals or the finals and your team didn't, and you didn't sign up to volunteer, can you still help out? I'm pretty sure the event's always going to be looking for organizers. Dean Doherty is Canadiana volunteer extraordinaire. So he will be able to help guide you anything volunteer wise. And Rick and I will have more information on that kind of stuff as we get into things as well. Thank you to those of you that went to the volunteer link on the event website and signed up for days where you knew you could. Again, you get, as the emails from Dean said, you get the most up close action. It's always fun meeting people from different countries, especially if you're like working the loading docks or things like that. And they often need volunteers in the days leading up to the event as well. So if you think you're going to have some free time kicking around, by all means, check in with Dean or sign up on that volunteer page. All righty. All right. If people arriving after the 9th need access or access teachers night, people arriving after the 9th would probably be spectators, because all paddlers should be there by the 9th. If you're arriving not by the 9th, you need to let Rick and I know, because your crews aren't going to get a practice or course familiarization. So everybody needs tickets to get on site. Once you have your ID cards, that is your ticket. If there's a spectator or a parent or guardian, then you need to purchase spectator tickets from that event website to get on. Dallas has the instructions for the patches, we are told. And there are instructions and they actually work. And that was from someone that does an iron. All right. Gary, the shirt that you picked up last week still has an incorrect flag. Google the flag, and what we're looking at is the bottom left and the upper right. Thickness of the bars were what was wrong. So, all righty. That covers volunteers, that covers this. Okay, I'm gonna go into our meeting doc. So I'm gonna be sharing a bunch of different pages. If I'm talking about something and you can't see it, please let me know. Either just unmute yourself and shout in, and we'll go for that. So we are going to get rolling on our questions doc, because a lot of these are going to lead into a lot of the topics that we need to talk about today. All righty, screen 2. All right. Move your chat over, move it so I can see you folks. All right. So location of group meeting in Dorney Lake area. We will let you know in our email on the night of August 7th, where exactly we're going to do that. It's going to be within the 500 meters spectator area, on the side of the lake. So, but we will give you more specific instructions then. Distribution, we'll be doing that on the 8th and the 9th. Iron on patches, that came up already. Okay, iron. All right, Rick and I will bring the iron. We'll figure that one out. All right. Is the Team Canada tent close to the entrance? All right. I'm asking because it figures how much time to get to loading dock from our tent. Because we don't know exactly where it is, but we know that it's going to be within 500 meters. So wait for this to load, and we have a picture of what the site is going to look like, or at least the last rendition we were provided with. There we go. So the entrance is way back up here. And then the parking is going to be somewhere here before the 500 meter line. Our team tents are going to be here. So that's looking like it's within the last 150 meters of the course. Down in here is where the paddler tents are going to be. So the marshalling tent, we're guessing, is going to be down here next to the docks. So it may be, it's going to be within 500 meters. It's not going to be much further than that. So we'll know, and that's the thing, when we get there, our practice on the 8th or on the 9th, if that's when you get there, that's stuff that you can walk around and check out while you're on site. You can time it, how long it takes to get from wherever they have our tent set up. We don't even know if they're going to have our tent set up on the 8th and the 9th yet, but you'll be able to see where those spots will be. So as you can see, the paddlers' tents will be here, so you'll have a great view of the finish line, or at least the final couple hundred meters of the course. The loading docks are down here. This is the main building. There'll be washrooms scattered throughout. We'll know the location of those once we get on our reconnaissance mission as well. As far as a separate entrance for pedestrians, give me a second. I have an answer to that, but I can't remember at the moment. I'll come back to that one. All right. Okay, so where's the loading dock? I've heard it's at the other end of the entrance, about 2 kilometers. No, it's not. It's going to be within that last couple hundred meters. If we look at the map of Dorney Lake, so this is from Google Maps. Yes, the entrance to Dorney Lake is up here. So this waterway is about, I think it's, that's 500 meters. It's about 1.5 kilometers, maybe 2K. So entrance, like when you're driving in, that's about 2K to where our tents are going to be. But from our tents to the actual dock, it's only going to be a couple hundred meters. Because we've got this long, big road where they say they're going to do the parking somewhere along there. So parking to our tent could be a walk. Know that. Alrighty. Are there any rules about footwear in boats? No, there are not. You can wear any type of shoe you wish. Just don't put sticky stuff on the bottom of them. If there's any residue left in the boat, you could be disqualified. Alrighty. Number 5, what is the capacity of the Team Canada tent? Should we make arrangements for seating, alternate arrangements for seating while awaiting our races? We don't know the size of the tent. Usually they're not made to fit 153 people all at the same time, plus parents of juniors, plus spouses, significant others. So it would be beneficial to know that there might not be space in there at all times. That will be home base. If you have, a little camp chair that's easy to pack, or if you go buy like a lawn chair, that kind of thing, then there's not going to be seating there. It's just a tent and dirt. So if you like to sit in a chair, you're going to have to bring your own. If you like to lay down while you warm up or do your stretches, a thermarest or a yoga mat, those kind of things, we've seen people bring and use or get while they're there and then donate to a shelter or to a used clothing place or a used, sometimes people donate that kind of stuff afterwards. So if you have a little pop tent, that kind of thing, somewhere for shade, if it's easy to pack, it might not hurt. We can't guarantee that there'll always be space in the tent for everyone at all times. So just know that. Especially once we get into the V6 races, when we get into the thousands and the 1500s, there's a lot of time between racers. There's only a few age categories that are racing at any given time. So just know that if you're not racing till late in the day, unless you're a Super Canadiana cheering squad, which we'd love to have, just know that sometimes being out in the heat all day is not necessarily in your best interests as a racer. And that it's okay not to be there cheering everyone on all the time. That's Rick's job. Be there all the time because he's our area coordinator. Alrighty. If the race schedule changes, how will this be communicated? So as I said, we'll have nightly emails. If things are changing the next day, it'll be included in that and highlighted. If any changes come to what they put out as the final race schedule, and again, I'll attach it on our next email. If any changes happen to that, we will let you know. Like I said, email is going to be the primary form of communication. There is supposed to be a weak Wi-Fi signal on site, but when you have 1,500 people using it, who knows how much you'll be able to pull things in. So, but the nightly emails will contain anything that is pertinent. They won't make There won't be a lot of changes that happen during the day. Anything that might be run ahead, it might be a race here or there that might get, so things won't shift too much in the middle of the day. But it is your responsibility to know that you are going to have to listen, pay attention when you're on site to what races are going on so that you know when they're going to be marshaling your race. And a good way to see this is that if you pop over on day 1 or day 2 when the elites are racing, when our 60s and 70s V1s are racing, you can see the format that they're going to run. So you can see like how many races ahead are they calling it, what's kind of the time frame, how long are people waiting in the marshalling tent, what kind of, where the starter boats are, how they move the flags. You can get a lot of that information by coming watching the elite competition on the first 2 days. Alrighty. Daphne, I see your question. That's going to be addressed in here in a couple minutes. Actually, we're here right now. Anyone compiling a list of phone numbers? For V6, we can do this, but not sure how to get in touch with other 6 from the 50s, V or 60s, V12s. So V12s, I'll take that one first, and then I'll get to the communication piece. V12s, V12s, V12. Where is my sheet with the V12s? Like I said, there we go. Alrighty. We don't need that super big. V12. So earlier, the V12s were sent out in PDF form. There have been a few updates to the V12s teams. Those that are involved in those changes have been notified, or at least their coaches have been notified. So teams like Falls Creek Racing Canoe Club, Master 60s, where you have 13 people on your, as you have a spare on your crew, you'll have to determine which 12 are doing the V12 for 60s. Same thing for Calgary and Fort Langley. You have spares as well. It'll be up to your crews to determine who's going to race the V12s. I am keeping a list, or Rick and I are keeping a list of who's available as spares for each age category. As we mentioned in our 28 update, COVID is a thing. And if you've heard of from anybody that came back or was at the Club Crew Dragon Boat Championships, there was a lot going around. And those that test positive, I hope you're healing up well and resting and recovering. And please make sure that you are not transmissible when you come in touch with any of us, or when you fly. Please be responsible. So we do have spares. If COVID is a thing, like it said in the email, they're not going to charge us for a withdrawal as long as we have the picture of you with a negative test. Selfie. But if that becomes an issue, by all means, get in contact with Rick and I, and we will guide you further on what needs to happen. So if there is an injury, or if there's a medical issue or something in any of your crews, whether it's V12 or V6, or if you yourself in V1, and you're not able to paddle, we can help you find someone to fill in. Those folks that are possibly filling in for V1, we've got a couple people on deck already as spares that are really ready to jump in after day 1. If a couple of the elite paddlers go, ooh, maybe I don't want to race 2 V1 categories, there's a couple folks that are graciously already training and willing to jump in a V1 and race that world with a day's notice. So thanks to those folks that are always willing to jump in. So if you've been looking at your screen, I'm going to scroll down so you can see the others, the crews here. So we have 3 V12s in 50s women. We have 3 V12s in 60s women. And again, we've got spares. So I will PDF our V12 list and send it out. As far as communicating with these other crews, unless I hear otherwise, anyone, the next email I send out, I am not going to BCC everybody. I am going to publicly CC you so that you have everybody's email address. This is a big responsibility that I'm giving you. Please do not reply all, because then you're going to be emailing 150 some people. So I'm going to CC everyone on our next email so that you have emails for people on the team. You have people, you can get the emails for other people on your V12. But please, if you are replying to that email, make sure that you only reply to the people that are necessary and not the whole crew, meaning all of Team Canada and juniors' parents. And I think there's a land manager whose email I'm about to get, so I can add it to the list, etc. All right, so men's V12s. Again, there were some updates here. I will forward out just based on, we are waiting on the schedule to see who, what V1 races were around it, those kind of things. So some of those things have been sorted out. If there is a line where it's got multiple people's names, like this one, that is up to those folks of who's going to go, because it's if I don't know all these people, it's just pick one of you gentlemen. And then again, we have it up here as well, where there is a medical issue and it's just a matter of if it feels well enough to race, go for it. If not, we have Rick to spare there as well, Chris, so no worries. So V12s for men, we are running an elite V12, and I'll be chatting with those gentlemen when we get on site. We'll have a meeting to discuss that kind of stuff as well. For V12s, so there are no V12 practice times. There's only V6 in straight and in turns. There's no V12 practice times. But we have a generous offer from Comedy's friend Richard, who I've had the pleasure of meeting in the past, in Henley. So Henley is about 24 minutes away from Dorney Lake. And they have invested in some Matahinas. So they are providing opportunity for us to train in Henley in the days preceding the Worlds. I will forward out the booking form, booking time slots, and the flyer. The cost is £10 per person per hour. So if you're doing a V6, and it's $10 a person, so or £60. V12, again, same thing. It's going to be 12 times £10. And the added bonus to this comedy is that Henley's a super cute town to wander around before or after your paddle. So they do have V12s available. They have 5 V6s rigged as a 12. They may have the Matahinas rigged as a 12 a little closer to the event. But just if you haven't had the opportunity to get in a 12 and you have got everybody's going to be there, you've got the time, you've got the funds, this would be a great way to support one of the local clubs and help give back, and again, meet some other folks. So I know there's some crews that have already had advance notice of this and have already booked in. But I will forward out, I'll just bring this over the screen so you folks can see. I will forward out this flyer that explains everything that they have to offer, as well as the costs, the times, the sessions, a little map. It also has the booking form. I'll include in it. You send in to reserve your spot. They will let you know pretty quick. Rich is pretty quick on his email of what is, if time slots are open or closed. And so these are the time slots they're running. So they've got them available starting a couple days ago, leading all through the event is what they've got listed here. So if you're looking, once you see where your practice slots are, if you're looking for some extra time in boats and you've got reels and you've got the funds, this is an excellent opportunity that we've been provided with. So I will ensure to forward that on in our next email. All righty. That's V12s. 12's race strategy. Again, we'll talk a little bit about this in our pre-meeting on, I'll probably save it for the 9th, just because then we know we'll have everybody on the 9th, where we'll talk about what do you need to move on. In terms of racing strategies, we'll talk a little bit about what it takes to get a V12 up and going. If you've never been up in one before, it's a freight train. So it takes a lot of power and energy to get it moving, but once she's moving, she boogies. And then different ways of placing your crews, so personnel within the crews, and how we can do that strategically so that we can get a good blend of a mix of power between the two hulls. You don't want one hull that's significantly stronger than the other, or weaker than the other, and so that we have that right left hull balance as well as weight front and back. This is a kombucha bottle, so don't think that I'm just chugging a big thing of beer. It actually only has water in it. My favorite water bottle. I've had people accuse me of, chugging beer on meetings, and I'm like, no, it's just water. Just a bad choice of a water bottle. Alrighty. Alrighty. So back up to the compiling a list of phone numbers. Because I'm going to send out the emails publicly, you'll have that. Phones are a funny thing. When you're out of country, some people choose not to use their phones. Some people, go back to the way it was 15, 20 years ago, where cell phones, we didn't rely on them so much. So I don't want to necessarily say phone numbers are a surefire way to get ahead of everybody, get a hold of everybody. Yes, at one point I did look at doing a WhatsApp group, but email's just easier. If you have data for WhatsApp, you have data for email. And again, we don't want to be clogging up people's phones with 150 some people on the email list. So I hope emails will be good enough. If you want to collect phone numbers from people within your crew, by all means, people within your V12, by all means. If you've got a communication strategy for within your team, within your crew, that works for you folks, especially if someone that's prone to wandering, and that you need to, get them back with you, that'd be good. Which brings me to another point, was if you I don't have my schedule with me. If you've got a schedule and you're, say, race number of 452, and it says, race time is going to be 9:45 a.m., plan to be on site minimum an hour ahead of time. Just because, as was noted in the as was noted in July 28th update, they are expecting congestion at getting into the event site at the entry, because there's only one road in and one road out, and there's going to be at least 1,300 people. Hopefully not all at the same time. So give yourself lots of time, 1, to get to the venue from wherever you're staying, and 2, to get actually physically into the venue, from waiting in the lineup park to finding parking to then walking to the tent. You don't want to have Rick in a frenzy running around trying to find you when they're doing the third call for the marshalling tent for your race. He's a patient man, but we don't want to push him too far, especially if it's early in the event. I have to stay with them, please. Be nice. Be there on time. So yeah, give yourself lots of time. Aim to be on site in tent an hour before your race time, which means give yourself, if you're staying 20 minutes away, give yourself at least an hour and a half. Give yourself lots of time to get in there. Alrighty. Number 9, we're moving through our list here. Are caps required to be worn during the races? No, they are not. If one person chooses to wear a hat in a crew, that's their choice. People can wear a hat. Other people in the crew cannot wear a hat. People can wear a headband. Doesn't matter. Your choice. That's one of the rules that used to be in, it is no longer in. You can do what you need to do. Alrighty. What is the I was going to prep for this question and now I forget. On maps, it appears that the long direction for the course is north, northwest, south, south. Well, if we look at the map, yes, that is the orientation. All right. Okay, what was the question? Weather forecasts show days where steady winds and gusts reach 20 kilometers per hour, mostly from the west. Yep. Yep, there could be some wind. There could be some wind, and that's some of the things that we'll look at and that you can ask questions during the practice days and anytime leading up, is that, you know what, sometimes if you've got a wind coming from one side, even if it's just quartering, it can definitely affect the front half or the back half of the turn, and how we need to either adjust our turn strategy to get around a little bit better. And if it's going to help us or hinder us. If those of you that were in Tahiti in 2018, and remember the wind there, yeah, there's a lot of adapting on the fly kind of thing. And so it's one of those, when in doubt, if you look like you're going to overshoot into the next lane, before back pedal. Stop that boat from moving forward so that it can just spin. Which brings me to turn strategies. So we talked briefly about this at our last one. We've got some, where was it? I pulled it up. Sprint tips, no. Oh, Matahina turn stop. There it is. All righty. So in one of our previous emails, there's a video of a couple different approaches. There's a link to there. There's a couple things that people have been playing with. There's a couple options of what some crews in particular have been doing. I really encourage crews to share, especially once we get there and during our practices, share what's going on. And we're going to bring this up when we talk on August 9th before our practice times as well. Is kind of go, what did the people from August 8th figure out? Thanks, Linda, for answering those questions. All righty. All right, and here's another reminder. Was prudent to remind folks to include in their carry-on luggage containing their paddling clothes, uniform, jersey, footwear, water bottle, any medication, and other things critical to their racing in case their luggage is delayed or lost. All right, well, ID tags and hats. Yes, these are going to be handed out on our team meeting on August 8th. If you're not there on the 8th, you will get it on the 9th. And yes, you will need your temporary passes. Get them now so that you can get in that gate for that day. And where we're meeting, I will update that on August 7th. Already answered 13. Oh, this next person that submitted this one, I love that you already have a solution to your question. I would like to go and watch the starter flags on day one to get some idea of how starts are being managed. Is it possible to walk up the course to do this? Absolutely. If we look at the course, actually, let's pull up this one. If we look at the course, what I get for having an old computer. All right. Make this a little bit bigger. All righty. So if our tents are down here, you can certainly, there is a pathway here right along the side of the course that you can walk on. You cannot bike on it, you cannot skateboard on it, but you can walk on it. So you can walk all the way down. You can watch the first half of every race if you want. If you could run fast enough, you might be able to jog along with them. But yes, you can totally go down, watch the flags. Highly recommend doing it, especially people racing D1. To go watch where the starters are, where they are, and kind of, you know, different starters are a little quicker one way or the other. We talked about this last time with the red and the green. So getting to watch a few of them if you can, and even watching the races, you know, if you're doing your warm-up before your race, if you're a jogger, if that's your thing, jog down here. Check out what the starters doing that day, because it's going to be like 5 or 10 races before yours. Check out what they're doing, and then jog your back, and then carry on with your warm-up. If you're a jogger, if you're not a runner, do not run for your warm-up just because I said jog down to the start. If you haven't been running, Alrighty, so while I have this map up, we are going to use this to talk a little bit about the course familiarization process. So these are the loading docks down here. I'll show a different map of this in a second, but when you get on the water, if you're doing straight lane practices, and I'll explain the straight lane versus turn lanes in a second. If you're doing straight lane practices, you are taking this channel that's in the yellow line up in this little, so you're not on the course. If you're doing a straight line practice, to go up the course. So you're not going the wrong direction in a lane when other people are coming down. So you're doing straight lanes. So we'll have V1s and V6s going down here during practices, finding the lane that they're assigned to, and then coming down for the practice. Okay, so that you're not going backwards in your practice lane if you're in a straight lane at all. That's the same in the races. That's going to be the same thing. Is that when all the 500-meter races, you will get off the loading dock, you will do your warm-up down this channel. So you're not going to be able to see the race course while you do your warm-up. So that's going to be about 600 meters. And then that's where the staging line is at 600 meters, and then they've got the 500-meter start line. For your turn races, you can see that you've got staging tail flags here. For your turn races, when we get off the dock, and we'll be able to see this. You'll see this with the elites. You'll be able to see kind of how the elites run their turn races, so that when it comes to the club crews, you've been able to see it a little bit. So there is no warm up for the turn races. You're in this little staging area. That's the only space you have. All right. So for V12, yeah, you'll have this 600 meters as a warm up. To figure things out in your crew if you haven't had a practice beforehand. But the turn races, it's just get off the dock and go. So practice schedule. Oh, my PDFs. There we go. Alrighty. All right. Move this over here. Alrighty. I will include this in our email as well, so that you have this for your reference. If people are like me, I tend to look at things over and over and over again, even though I already know the answer, but I still need that confirmation to calm my anxiety down a little bit. So you can see that we've got, this is where this writing is. This will be like team tents are expected to be up in this area. So there's the boathouse, there's the docks, and then these are how the lanes are going to be set up for practices. Okay, finish towers over here. Nobody's going to be on this island here except IVF officials. So we have no access to over there. What we will do is we will be coming off our docks. We will be going under this bridge that they've got highlighted in red. We will be going down this channel, the 500-meter start line, come back under a bridge. We are not, so no boats are permitted to go beyond the 600-meter line. So even though there's water back here on the backs away from the course, we are not allowed to go there during practice. Okay, your practice, you're going to be in the channel or you're in a lane. Those are the only two spots that we're permitted. So make this a little bit bigger. So for V1s are going to be in lanes 9 and 10. So those are going to be the two lanes that are closest to the finish tower island. Okay. So furthest away from the team tent is going to be where the V1s are going to go. For our Monday and Tuesday practices, we have both lanes for V1. So there'll be 12 boats, 12 boats, 24 boats, 24, ooh, in each V1 lane. I have to look that up, I forget now. In V6s, you will be assigned either a lane 7 or lane 8 for your V6. That means you can see that we've got the lanes numbered on the docks. So when we give you your practice schedule, you'll know which dock to go to get your boat. If you're in V6 for a straight lane practice in lane 7 or lane 8, you'll go under the bridge, past the finish tower, along the channel, come back, and then under the bridge, and you'll count over, and you'll see the next lanes. So there's 2 V6 lanes that are going to be straight. Then we get into the turns. So the turn lanes are going to be called 1, 2, and 3 for practices. So this is just for practices because they had to separate everything. So for practices, lane 1 will be the closest to the team tents, lane 2 in the middle, and lane 3 will be just before they do this. So in a turn practice, you will be going down the right-hand lane, turning into the left-hand lane, and coming back up. Okay. Being very cognizant of boats around you, because you're going to have 4 V6s in one of these lanes. Okay. So they're all going to be from Canada, but you've got to be aware of each other. So if you're planning on going like one turn straight to another turn, you got to be aware that there's other boats in the course. Which brings me to the don't stop in the course, because there's other teams trying to practice things of like stringing together 2 turns or more kind of thing. So being aware that you're going to be turning in there. So I will also be including the procedures, just in case you forget what I said. They've written it out for us. So equipment periods uses are for 5 minutes. So there's a 5-minute changeover. We should all be there ahead of time. They've talked about lanes 9 and 10 are from the 500-meter start to the finish, and that you exit the finish lane by going back up the channel lane. You're either going to the dock or you're going back to that warm-up channel. All right, 7 and 8, same thing. You're only ever going in the direction from the start to the finish. And only if both lane 3 and 4 are assigned all canoes to one member, there could be any turn work at this. So there's a couple times where we have 2 lanes of straight. So we'll be looking at the practice schedule. I've got a draft. These aren't the final times that I'm going to show you here in just a second. These are a draft because we still have some open slots. So we'll be looking at kind of who needs what. Right now, everybody has 1 straight 25 minutes and 1 turn 25 minutes over the 3 days. Some of those are your straight and your turn is in the same day, especially those that aren't coming to the time. But we make it work anyway. The other reason right now where we have some open slots is that sometimes we need to have a bargaining chip. So there's some of our crews that just based on the makeup and people racing in multiple crews as well as the elite, there's some crews that there's actually just no way to get them on the water maybe as many times during our slots. So it might be a matter of sharing, of going to one of our countries that we know very well and going, hey, we possibly have a spare boat here. Can we trade you for a boat during one of your slots that we can get those people on the water? But just because there's blank spots on our chart right now, they likely won't stay that way. Like I said, it's nice to have a bargaining chip because I don't always want to be the country that takes. I want to be the country that can also give to other countries in need, because we've had a lot of countries help us out during these course familiarization times when we needed extra boats. So we want to be able to help with them as well. So once again, I will be sending this to you as well so that you have it for your reference. So those that like spreadsheets, this is just a copy of all the countries and when their practice times are. So we are Canada, so we will not have the opportunity to do turns in our straight lanes on August the 8th because we only have lane 8. New Zealand's going to be in the lane beside us. And then we have lane 1 and lane 2 for turns on the 8th. And again, this is going to be written in the practice schedule, so you don't have to copy any of this down. And then we have 12 V1s for an hour in lanes 9 and 10. for V1s. So this is a day when all our V1s are going to be able to get on the water, which is fantastic because there is no overlap with our V6. Where things are going to start to get tricky is here we've got, again, some V6s here on the 9th, the same lanes we had before, but the second half of that, V6s are at the same time as their V1s. So again, it's trying to play the puzzle game of who's in crews that need to practice, along with who needs to get in the V1s as well. Nora, safe travels. She's going to board. Thanks for joining us. You can watch the rest when we get posted and send the link. All right. I need next is what you've been anxiously waiting for, is the practice schedule. I know it's called course familiarization, but to me, it's still always going to be called practice. So you can see that I am currently on draft 4 of this. I started getting frustrated because it was draft 1, draft 2, then this one, and then really this one as we go ahead. So, oops. Okay, so Tuesday. So this first section here, I'll go here. Okay, so Tuesday. So we've got our different time slots. Oops, sorry, Monday, there we go. Monday, we've got our different time slots. So we've broken our hour slots into 25-minute segments because we need time to switch our crews as well. So we've got 12 to 12:25, 12:30 to 12:55, 1 o'clock to 12:25 or 1:25, and 1:30 to 1:55. Those are our V6 slots. So when we'd say boat number, we've got straight lane 7, which we don't have that day. We have boats for straight lane 8. We have boats for turn lane 1. We have boats for turn lane 2. So each crew has their own lovely little color code. That's just how my brain functions, especially when I need to double check the people. So that's where we are. So know that the priority, so for Team Canada, in this event, this is the first time where we've got an elite men's crew. We've had elite women's before, but elite men, we've never had a crew this strong. Man, this is so exciting. So with the elite crews, because they're spread, especially for the men across the country, for the women, we haven't even had a chance to get in the boat together except for when we were in Calgary. Our elite crews are being prioritized those first 2 practice days. So they're getting a full hour. So in day 1, they're getting a half hour of straight, 1 just get together, and then 2, then they'll move into a turn lane. And then on the second day of practice, they get a full hour in their turns. And so again, these things may shift depending on what the crews need, which is also why it's nice to have some spots to shift things into. If people need more turn practice, if people need more straights, to work on their starts or just work on their blend, we can do that. So any crews that have people on the elite team, that means that you can't practice at the same time as they do. So that means the second hour is where we start fitting in those crews of people that are in the elite crews. So it's all well and good on day 1 because there's enough room for everybody and you can see there's room to spare. So some crews may be doubling up and getting a full hour that day, because the V1s are at 4 o'clock. So again, they're split into half hour, 25-minute time slots. And we've got, again, I'll explain the V1 stuff. That'll come. That's a whole nother bag of jewels. All right, so looking at August 9th, we've got a similar setup where we've got 6 starting at 11:30. We've got 11:30 to 11:55, 12 to 12:25, and then 12:30 to 12:55, and 1 o'clock to 1:25. We also have V1 at 12:30 to 12:55, and at the same time of 1 to 1:25. So this is where things had to get a little split because there are some people that are racing multiple age categories as well as V1 and elite, and it just things start to get a little fun here for the scheduling side of things. So in here, we've got, again, everybody's on the water. So all our V6 crews are on the water here on our second day of practice on August 9th. Again, your time slots could shift. So don't think these are nailed down in stone. They could shift, but everybody will be on the water this day. Just like everybody gets on the water on August 8th, except for teams that won't be there. As we roll into day 3 of practice, which is August 10th, we only have 4 boats in a straight lane for an hour. So these crews are a lot of the folks that had people in elite that may not have had a lot of time together yet, or just where things happen to fit with V1 so that their V1 paddlers could get at least 2 time slots, so 2 25-minute sections in V1. And again, these are not set in stone. So if you're seeing something today and you're like, oh my gosh, you had me at the same time in 2 crews, that's the stuff we need to know now. So I will be sending a PDF of this out to everyone in my next email. So if you see conflicts of where you are in 2 crews that are supposed to practice at the same time, they're not already combined like 70 and 75, or BC Rapids Wahoo, that kind of thing. V1s, I'm still sorting out. Right now, everybody should have at least 2 25-minute slots. There's some that may end up being a full hour instead of being split up over 2 days, just because we've got people that start racing V1 on August 10th. And so I can't really put them for practice on August 10th when they've already started racing, because we want to give them some rest before they have to race again the next day. And also because we need to try and get other people in there as well. So I've got a few more things to shore up because this afternoon really got away from me with doing laundry, unpacking from Toronto, doing more laundry, unpacking from Hood River, and trying to pack to leave tomorrow. I make my own problems by scheduling quick turnarounds. But I'll send you a PDF of this draft of what we've got so you can see where things are laying out, and let me know if there's any conflicts, and we will go from there. So again, it's just a draft, not laid in stone. Things will continue to update over the coming week. Coaches. So people that are coaches that are working with crews, as far as where you're allowed to be, anywhere, because like if you look back at the picture, where was it? Oh, that one. If we look back at this picture, if you're coaching people in V1 or V6s in the straight lanes, you can't get over to this side of the course. We're not allowed on Tower Island. As far as being allowed onto the dock, I doubt it. Linda, you might be able to better speak to that one. And same with crews that are being in this, like lane 1 and 2 doing our turns. It's not like a group in lane 2 can come over and talk to you on the side. So it's going to be tough to manage that during the practice time. And also know that you could be on the water at the same time as the crews that you're trying to coach. And there may be a little shuffling that we can do that. But we may be asking some of our veteran paddlers to also help with our juniors. So in terms of if your group is on the water at the same time as one of our juniors crews, you might get a little tap on the shoulder saying, hey, can you kind of give a little hand? Or if you're not practicing at the same time as a junior crew, I might be coming up to you and tagging going, hey, can you provide a little guidance to them on the water if we find a place where they can come in and talk to someone on shore, and go from that. So we've got so many coaches within our group. We have so much talent and knowledge within our paddlers that are going, that I love that. I just wrote this earlier today. Our youngest person coming is currently 13 years old. And our oldest, and I don't want to call anybody out, I'm just going to say 80 something. So we've got 3 competitors in the 80s category. And I'm not going to say what the upper one is because that just narrows it down to who it could be. So we've got 3 competitors in the 80s. So we've got so much knowledge and experience coming to London. It makes me, as a coach and as an administrator, so excited to see the breadth of talent here, but also that it's such a learning experience. So we've got, whether you've been to sprints before or not, everywhere new and every competition is different, just with different venues and how they evolve over the years. It's really nice to see and watch how some of our more experienced paddlers mentor some of our rookies. And sometimes that's our 30-something-year-old paddlers mentoring our 70-something-year-old paddlers that may be rookies, whereas our 30-somethings might be the veterans. So it's like, age doesn't matter. It's just about the experience. And it's super fun to watch and to witness. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about in terms of Team Canada goals is, one, yes, support our elite crews. And so they're getting some of the priority within the practice time, but also our V1 paddlers. So you may or may not have heard, Tahiti is not coming to London. I don't know the specifics. If you want to know, I'm sure there's a couple of people that have read some of the articles from the Tahitian newspaper that might know, but they're not coming. So what this does is this opens up in our V1s opportunities for some of our paddlers that maybe have been finishing, 4th or 5th kind of thing, to be more in a more of a podium spot. And the reason why podium spots are as important is that any medal that we win in V1 this year means that in 2024 at the next World Sprints, that age category has one extra spot per medal. So for example, so this year we have 4 open women's spots. We have 4 70s women's spots, and we have 4 70 men's spots, because I won a medal in Tahiti. Dawn Amundsen won a medal in Tahiti, and so did, I can picture her. She's on the island. She has her own island. Oh my gosh. I talked to her the other day. Somebody please help me. This is embarrassing. Who won our medal? Sue Milligan. Thank you.
Good Milligan.
Yes. So thanks to them, we have 4 paddlers instead of 3. So we have a lot of our age categories for V1 this year for Canada, we have medal contenders. So and some of the conversations that I've had with some of these paddlers are racing multiple age categories, and I want to say this to the larger group now, that if you're in V1 and your primary age category should be your priority, because if we can get a medal, that helps next time around. Even if you're going on to an age category, even if you're not coming, you're helping build Team Canada. The more people we can get experience for in these races, the more they can build the future for racing here. And so when we look at the V6 kind of things, so we've got a lot of V6s that are racing down. And I highly recommend that if you're racing in your secondary age category, use it as a warm-up, use it as a learning, using it as a practice kind of thing for your primary. Because again, when we look at our V6s, though we don't get extra spots for podiums and V6s, it's pretty freaking cool to see multiple Canadian flags go up that pole. Just saying. Rick and I packed the flags today. They're in his carry-on. We've got them ready. We got the anthem fixed. The anthem that we had on the memory stick that we have to submit, it's ready to go. And so now it's on to you folks to let's make use of those flags. So those primary age categories should be your priority in terms of if you have a lot of races in a day, if you're have to kind of manage your energy for people that are racing multiple V6s, multiple V1s, your primary age category is your priority. So if we are, again, happy to have these conversations. I had a meeting with someone this morning discussing this very thing. If you are injured, if you're not sure about if you should be racing something, by all means, talk to us sooner rather than later. For V1, if you need to drop a V1, we need to know by like noon the day before your heat. So like a lot of our V1s are starting on day 3, unless you're 60, 70, or 75. And everybody else is starting on day 3. So we need to know by the end of competition on day 2, which is about noon, of if you're gonna drop a V1 or not, because then we'll be going knock knock on the spares door and tell them to be ready for the next day. Alrighty. Back to my questions list. So yeah, if someone in your crew, like especially if you're a crew that carries a spare, if someone in your crew is racing V1s as well as V6s, they may say, you know what, the secondary V6, I need a breather. And that's why we have spares, right? That's why some of the teams are carrying 7. If you do have someone on your team and you're not carrying spares that is saying that, by all means, Rick and I have the list. We might be calling you to say, hey, are you willing to sit in for this crew? But I know that everybody coming is, everybody wants to race, right? No one's going to pull themselves from a race just because. If someone says I can't race, it's because they can't. And we need to be able to respect that and honor that, because we're all spending a whole lot of money to come over here or go over there and race. So something's got to be going on if someone says they can't. And we'll support them however we can. Alrighty, moving on. 15, are the starters on the shore in the front of the start line, so we look ahead, or are they standing to the side of the boat? Linda Roberts states race starters are on the side of the course, 30 meters in from the start line. So that means, like, if you're looking up the course, so if we look back to our course map here, let's pull it back up here. And Linda, I don't know if you want to pop on and expand on after this. So if this is our start line, they'd be, I don't know, which side would they be on, Linda? The Tower Island side for the start? Off on the side on the shore? Is how I interpret that. But again.
Okay, am I on now?
You are. Go for it.
Right on. Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to jump in and try and answer some of these questions. But no, we're on this side where the paddlers are.
Okay, over here.
Mm-hmm. So something else, I'll just, you're probably going to have team meetings every day or close to it. So like Leanne suggested earlier, get down to the course and watch some races, but I'll also have some additional information that I'd be happy to share with you guys if we have a team meeting during the elite days. I'll be training the officials. So day 1, day 2, day 3 of races, you know, the next team meeting that we have, any kind of final tweaks and questions, we could probably go over that on site. It's going to make a lot more sense to people once they've physically seen the race course. Then it'll be so much easier to understand.
Absolutely agree. And yeah, bang on there, Linda. Like when we look at our practice schedule, we've got some practices a couple hours after the elite finish. I don't have it. A couple hours after the elite finish on that August 10th. So yes, we will be looking to have a team meeting in there, because like Linda said, she'll be done the training for the starters, and people will have the opportunity to see what how things are running and how things are working. And if we look at the schedule, last event is on that day 2 is the elite men's V12. We have an elite men's V12. We've never had an elite V12 yet. So we will be crossing our fingers that they make that final 8 in that final. So that'll be super fun to cheer on those 12 gentlemen, especially the more cheering the better. And then yeah, we can do a team meeting right after that on that day. But again, updates will be coming nightly in your email. The exact time and location of that meeting will be announced leading up to it. So it's not going to be like, oh, I think she said this a week and a half ago. No, you'll have it in your email the night before. All righty. What other questions did we have? We already addressed the warm-up time before the V12. You have that channel to the start line as your warm-up. Volunteering, we already talked about. Email lists. Okay, is it possible to add someone to the email list who is not on Team Canada, our land manager? Yes, if there's anyone that needs to be included on this, if there's a parent or guardian, or a manager that needs to be added to the list, please email it to IVF Sprints at canadianoutregger.ca or put it in the chat if you're here now, just to let us know. All right, V1, all right. V1 pre-practice meeting. On our practice schedule, and again, this will all be sent in email, so you don't have to try and remember everything. I know it's a lot already. Because we're done our V6 practices at 2 o'clock and V1s are starting at 4. We'd like to have a meeting with the V1 paddlers prior to that 4 o'clock. So you'll have time, like an hour to go get some food and come back. And then we'd like to meet with the V1 paddlers to talk a little about the best use of your practice time, what kind of things you want to check for, what do you want to do, and some guidance there in terms of V1, hopefully make it helpful to you during that practice time. And then also talk a little bit about V1 strategy. I said this to our women's elite team is like, one, you got to figure out if you got game, you got to know what the game is and then know if you can play the game. And if you're in the game, yeah. Anyways, makes sense in my head. It'll make sense when I talk it out. So we're going to have a meeting for the V1s. Before that, again, this will all be coming out in email, but just so that all our V1 paddlers are prepared for that. So on that day, if you're a V1 paddler, good thing to pack a lunch that day. For the tent, yeah, if you got chairs, like I know the people that are packing their thermarests, something to lay on. Henley practice options, we already went over. That'll be coming in an email. Making sure it's very beneficial to have some cash on hand. I know some people are really into the Apple Wallet or using their card. There's some things that cash is king, especially that Henley practice options. It's easy just to collect £10 from everybody if you're going. Communication in London, we talked about email, reaching Rick or I. We will have a phone plan for my phone number. So I will make sure everyone has that if you don't already. And that's how you can make sure you get a hold of Rick or I if you need us anytime, just please not during the night, but anytime on site if you can't find us. Question here about practice days. You can wear whatever you want on your practice days, but I'll say this, nothing new on race day. So if you have not paddled in the shirt you plan on racing in yet, either do it now and in the next week or do it on your practice days just so that you can get the feel of it. Know if rubs, if it chafes, if you need to do it a little stretching, if you need to do a little shrinking, nothing new on race day. But I will say this, when you look good, it's intimidating. Like, I remember one of my first World Dragon Boats, we had these black icebreaker shirts, so team with a red maple leaf on it, and we showed up at practice in like black bottoms, black shirts, and everyone was like, who are they? And then it was like, I don't know, and you feel good too. So if you're in Tahiti, then you might have remembered floral pants and hot pink shirts that our elite women's crew wore for training, along with hot pink and black hats. So for some crews, clothing is fun. For other crews, it's a chore. Do what's best for you, ultimately, and just remember, nothing new on race day. I am through my list of questions. I think I've hit everything on my agenda. I know this meeting went a little longer than the past one, but again, I want to do my best, or we want to do our best to make sure that you folks have as many answers as you can. Some things that we just don't know yet, and that we will convey to you once we know. Again, we are grateful for everybody's patience as we figure things out. There's a lot of emails coming your way over the next 17 days. I'll open the floor to questions. If there's something that we haven't answered, that we might have an answer to, by all means, unmute yourself or fire it in the chat. And if you're a slow typer, I'll give you more than 10 seconds to put it in. I've been in meetings where anybody's like, I don't have any questions, just put it in the chat. You can't click on the chat to open it and start typing fast enough. All right. Still wondering about the walking question. What is the walking question? Please remind me. Anyone want to speak for Sarah? Oh, access to pedestrians. I will find out for you, unless Linda, you know. I think they come in the same way. I know I've seen it somewhere. It might also be, here's another place. If you haven't looked for questions yet, on the event website, oh, I guess I need to share my screen to show you. On the event website, if you look, go under visit, there's a frequently asked questions section. So food, cycling, skateboards, how do I get there, accommodations, parking arrangements for those with disability, COVID-19 restrictions, sponsoring, partnering, giving them more money, volunteering, allowed to bring my dog. Where's the getting here section? They might have the answer here, Sarah. Getting here, directions. Travel by car, taxi, travel by car. Oh, there you go. Travel by foot or bike. Right there on the website for you, Sarah. I will put a direct link to that in the chat, and you can look that up. There we go. Yep, it talks. Right there you go. Foot or bike. Other questions? Gary, so those that aren't reading the chat, the question is, can I pick up someone else's credentials on day one to give them to them? Just know that a lost ID card is going to be £10. So does that person trust you to pick it up? And if you lose it, are you going to be responsible for the £10 that they have to pay? So if you're going to pick up for somebody else, if we can have an email from the person you're picking up from, just to say so-and-so is going to pick up my stuff, then that'd probably be the easiest way to do it. So send us an email at the IVF Sprints account if someone else is going to pick up your stuff. So Gary, whoever you want to pick up stuff for, to send us an email, and we can make a note in our checklist that so-and-so is going to pick it up for you or for them. You're going to pick it up for them. There we go. Other questions? I see Scott moving his lips, but he's muted.
There we go. In our practice, a question was brought up doing the turns. If you're posting, are you allowed to lift your ass off the seat, or does one cheek have to stay?
You have to have cheek in contact.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Good question. In the chat that says, are lanyards coming with the ID? They always have. I expect them to, again. I haven't been to one yet where they didn't have a lanyard attached. Any others? And there's going to be so many questions that come up as we go during the days leading up to it, when we start getting over there, during practices at Henley, practice course familiarization on site. Once again, don't be shy, send us questions if you have them, and we'll do our best to answer those questions to everyone, because if you have a question, there's probably about a couple other people that have them too. So don't be afraid. Alrighty, on that note, I'm an hour late to dinner at my mother-in-law, but that is okay. So on that note, thank you everyone for being here. I hope this was helpful. I'm over the moon. I'm so excited. Especially the last 2 weeks not talking about paddling very much. Being able to talk about paddling for the last like hour and a bit right now has been super fun. But I'm really excited to see everyone over there. I'm excited to see folks that we've raced with before over there. I'm excited to see people from other countries that I haven't seen since pre-pandemic. I'm excited to see some of our young people race for the first time on the world stage. I'm excited for some of our veterans to, you know, have put a lot of work in lately. See where they stand. Just for fun. Again, there's no expectations on anyone for performances. The biggest thing that we can get out of this is learning as many smiles and laughs that we can have. And new experiences and meeting new people. So again, if it don't feel like there's any pressure on medals, there's any pressure on performances, ultimately from my standpoint and from Rick, I'll speak for him as well, is that we just want you to go and do your best. And that's all we could ever ask, and that you have fun. So we'll do everything we can to help you with that on both sides of the equation. And I bid you all a good night, and I will see you on the other side of the pond. Check your emails. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.